Fit for Life Radio, episode number 67. Chugging along here.
Trying to be as consistent as humanly possible.
No pandemic will hold us down for longer than a year.
Nah, it took a whole year off for a pandemic.
Well, yeah, here we are. I'm Gary. Got your man Will.
I'm Will.
It's your first time listening in. Today, we are going to talk about. We'll try to dive right into it because it should be
It's a lot.
a long one, but it's interesting. So it's kind of
Yeah,
story we'll weave in.
Talk starvation today.
Starvation. So a common thing a lot of people ask about or think is starvation mode and then also my metabolism. Like, does your metabolism change? What is it that everyone kind of say or worry about when they're dieting about metabolic adaptation, right?
Yeah.
Which is a thing.
Absolutely.
But it's also very normal.
Yep.
Right. So we'll dive deep, but on a general level, if you are lighter, you need less energy, right? So
yeah, and if you're heavier, you need more
energy.
So
your calorie needs are going to go down typically when you are lighter.
Yeah, we can dive into that.
So
big time.
It's nothing to be alarmed about. It's normal. But so with our Precision Nutrition Academy that we use, they give us little reviews and the latest research, but one they dove into recently
is far from the latest research.
It's older, which there's the more you dive into anything, whether you're doing sports or current events or fitness or finances, you can get all your answers are in history, right?
And they've been there for so long. Even if you look at the old fitness stuff, not much has changed.
Yep. So we learned a lot, and I mean, a perfect one's right now the keto diet's the thing, right? Well, 25 years ago, Atkins diet, it's the same thing.
Yep.
So what we're going to go over today is from 1944. It was the Minnesota Starvation Experiment, and it's pretty much like it sounds.
Would you have done it?
Would I have done it? It's so funny because the mindsets are different. Now you think about it and you're like, well, if anyone proposed it to you, you would go online and research and Google.
Yeah, exactly.
You would have these strong opinions on it.
But in 1944,
you're just like,
all right.
So they essentially took, at the end of World War II,
yeah,
they were kind of interested. The original goal was to use the results to help famine victims from the end of the war, right? So they wanted to learn about starvation, right? To see what's kind of to expect when you're bringing people back from starvation. Yep. and these kind of things.
And how do you handle it the best going forward? Because there are, bad ways to handle it that aren't very helpful.
And it kind of started in 1944. It was eventually published in 1950, and in 1,400 pages was the whole report.
We didn't read the whole 1,400 pages, in case anyone's wondering.
This is why we love our PN, right?
Yeah.
To summarize it.
Boil it down.
Now we'll break down kind of how the study worked. They basically recruited a bunch of people, applicants. They had 400 applicants, and they eventually screened it down, ended up with 36 men. All right. So then the study was broken down into 3 parts. Part 1 was 12 weeks of normal living and eating. So during this time, young men, active and lean, they were eating about 3,000 calories a day.
And I think that speaks to the activity level of people back then compared to now.
Yeah.
Because your average guy, for the most part, would probably gain weight on 3,000 calories just with a lack of being trained. And if we're talking these days and
that's
not moving a lot.
What I eat. And I maintain actually I had to go up because my goal is to gain weight, but average 160 pounds, 3,000 calories a day, active and lean.
Yep.
That maintains my weight. So
Exactly.
It shows nothing's changed either, right?
No.
If you
in terms of the science,
don't just sit all day. So, and I think it even said in here somewhere. Here we go. Yeah. Average man. I thought I remember seeing their activity. Yeah, here we go. So their regular physical activity was 22 miles of walking each week, right? So, and now I think about it, I normally do 10,000. Not lately, not with the cold and the snow.
What's 10,000? 10,000 3 miles?
10,000 steps is about 5 miles.
5 miles.
So 7.5 is about 3. Well, let's see. So 5,000 would be about 2.5.
Yeah.
So 22 miles a week. So we'll say 21 divided by 7 is 3. So 3 miles a day.
3 miles a day.
So that's about 6,000 steps a day, which is super. I mean, that's about where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's funny now you think about it. You see the habits that are kind of general in fitness, like we say, like walk, at least 5,000 to 10,000 steps a day. Do these, and that's kind of like what people did back then, without needing trackers and fitness coaches to tell them what to do, right? So really, all we're doing with fitness is trying to replicate what we should be doing, right?
Trying to rehash the same things they've been doing for
what our
thousands of years.
So yeah, so phase 1. They just normal, right? Let's get a baseline. So they ate to maintain their weight, which for the young, lean, active men was 3,000 calories a day. This was the control data. Then part 2, 24 weeks of semi-starvation. What this means, they want them to lose 25% of their body weight. So if you weigh 170 pounds, that'd be 43 pounds of weight loss.
Oh, God, that's a lot.
Taking you down to 127 pounds. And they did this, so they basically had everyone eat just over 1,500 calories per day, right? And when you go from 3,000, that's half your calories. So they were maintaining their weight at 3,000 calories a day. You cut that in half, you're going to lose weight.
That's a huge surplus or deficit.
One thing I want to kind of cut in on now let's take that to today, right? Where you hear a lot of times people talk about, oh, I'm not losing weight because I'm not eating enough. I'm in starvation mode. We'll get like one thing straight and clear. No.
Yeah.
If you're not
balls,
if you're starving, like you're not giving your body enough, you're going to be like losing weight. Like that's how people in third world countries.
Yeah, that's literally what happens.
Starve to death, right? These men, and I wish you guys could see the pictures. I mean, yeah, they went down to skin and bones, right?
Yeah, like not a whole lot of muscle, just.
Like if you're not eating enough, you are losing weight and starving.
Yes.
Now, and what we'll get into, that does cause metabolic adaptation.
Yeah, there are changes.
People think what happens is there's just sneaky calories, you don't realize it. But also when you eat less and lose weight, your calorie needs go down, your metabolic adaptation goes down, which is what this study really helped teach.
Yep.
And yeah, so what happened was stage 2, they're semi-starvation, 1,500 calories a day, losing drastic weight. They lose 25% of their body weight. And remember, they're lean to start, right? So this isn't a good thing.
No, I mean they're losing fat and muscle.
They're losing fat and muscle, and they were basically eating 2 meals per day, high carbohydrate, low protein. So essentially, just small amounts of macaroni, potatoes, and cabbage.
Oof.
Was the typical menu, man. Just a little teeny amount of pasta, essentially.
That's painful.
Then they followed that with 12 weeks of restricted refeeding, meaning they slowly gave them more calories, and then that was followed by 8 weeks of unrestricted refeeding.
Just let it rip.
Yeah, like eat till your heart's content, right? Whatever comes natural. So
this is the fun part.
What happened was they, obviously with the restricted refeeding, they started to gain some weight back. While we'll go back. So in their, tons of weight loss state, some things that happened where their heart rate slowed down. So it slowed down all the way down to a low average of 55 beats per minute. Or from 55 to 35 beats per minute, right? Now, what this is doing, this is a metabolic adaptation, right? So at the time, they assumed this was your body, a mechanism to save yourself, evolutionary mechanism, right? Because if you're getting in less calories, you're drastically dropping weight, your body, the end game for that, if it never stops, is you die.
Yeah.
So then your body lowers your heart rate. So because our heart rate kind of dictates our calorie burn, our metabolism, because that's what dictates how much oxygen we're breathing in, which is how calories are burned, right? Yep. So lower heart rate,
less
calorie burn, right? Less oxygen consumption, which then also means you're more tired.
Yeah, everything down regulates. It's akin to like if you have an 8-cylinder car and you've got to save gas, so the car turns off 4 cylinders so that you can keep going for longer. but you're going to be going slower. It might not work quite as well. You might be puttering, down the street, but you're still going to end up getting there, although you might be a little bit slower. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of really what happens when you've dropped.
And they also then had decreased blood volume, shrinking heart size, shrinking blood vessels, which could be seen in their eyes, kind of have that glossed over look, hair loss. Now, and realize all these things are typical things your body attends to. So as you slowly, or in this case, extreme diet, right, lose weight really fast, your body starts to kind of pay less attention to these other things because it wants to conserve energy because its bigger goal is keeping you alive, right? And these are all negative things that come from losing weight too fast or too much. So, and when you get into really low levels of body fat, you can talk to any bodybuilder who was just pushing the extreme and really reading through the studies, like reading through a bodybuilder's
you're tired,
journey,
you're
right?
cold.
When you get too low in body fat. So yeah, same thing. They complained about feeling old, constantly tired, decreased sex drive, irritable. Then eventually they were given as much coffee as they wanted and gum, and they would chew up to 40 packs a day and drink up to 15 cups of coffee. Damn. So that's where
Diego's got nothing.
You're looking for this external energy source. Another interesting thing is the men didn't perceive themselves as too skinny, but instead thought that other people looked more fat. This is also a characteristic shown with anorexia. So it kind of shows how your brain's perception changes. And they were much more food driven, right? And if
absolutely.
You've ever dieted before, they didn't have Instagram back then, right? But you'll notice how you start thumbing through food accounts. Your thoughts are very food driven, and a lot of people feel guilty for this.
Yeah, I shouldn't be thinking about food all the time.
When in actuality, it's evolutionary.
That's a real deep, primal need going on right there.
I need this, so it's going to be top of mind, right? So once they were then. So these are all kind of things that happen from drastic weight loss, getting too lean,
and too quickly. Yeah, it's
and then when they were refed, so they had broke them into 4 groups. One group got 400 extra calories, another group got 800 extra calories, third group 1,200, fourth group 1,600. In addition to their lowest at the 1,500, and then as they basically start to refeed back, kind of what was expected. They start to feel better. So a few of the men here, let's see. They had, so 2 of the biggest things were, once they got to where they were allowed to eat whatever, they, on average, ate an estimated 11,000 calories per day, right? So their eating patterns became very abnormal for months and years after the study. So a lot of people experience this, right? When you crash diet, you yo-yo diet, you cut up a whole bunch of calories at once, and then it's you can cheat day or you're off your diet in 30 days, and then you rebound and you go the other way, right? And you just gorge and gorge and gorge. And it's, again, from the study, probably a protective thing to where your body's well, let me get more fat to protect me from the famine.
Yeah, if something happens, I need a backup plan. You need those emergency reserves.
And the thing is, with today's environment, it's not normal to where we could have unlimited food to be able to keep going and going.
Yeah.
But we do. And now here's where, I don't want to say fun, but the stuff you really learn
is... we could call it fun.
Yeah, so the interesting stuff now is what happens now, and we'll relate it to common scenarios. So you crash diet, which means essentially when we say crash diet, you take way too big of a calorie deficit, lose a bunch of weight really fast, and then go back to eating more food. Well, what they found was the men gained back to fat, but did not gain back their muscle, their lean body mass, their muscle as fast. So when they got 100% back to the fat mass they had before, their muscle mass was still lower and their drive to overeat was still high. So they kept overeating, and then eventually when their lean body mass got back to what it was before, then their desire and eating kind of normalized a bit, but they also had gained a bunch more fat than before. So now they were just way heavier than before.
Yep.
They had, and with the same amount of muscle as before, but way more body fat. And so there was like a huge lag. And essentially, the interesting stuff from that was you kind of maybe see where maybe our lean body mass drives a lot of our appetite.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some other books and studies that are interesting in like protein driving our appetite, and they call it a protein set point. And maybe a lot of the reason why people are always hungry is they don't get enough protein, and you're driven, so you're eating all these carbs and fats, tons of easy calories to overeat, but your body maybe still wants more protein.
Yeah, you're never checking that box, so you're still like seeking anything out.
Exactly, until you get that protein. But you'll notice you can not eat carbs and fat, just eat a bunch of protein, and you hit a wall pretty quick.
Yeah, you're gonna be full. If you eat just straight chicken breast, you're gonna be done soon.
So once they finally gained their muscle back, again, their body fat was way higher, and now they were stuck with a lot higher overall body weight, which then comes with, negatives.
Yeah,
so,
its own challenges for sure.
So really, even though it was done in 1940, like you can see a lot of parallel. Like
it's super relevant still.
The lessons learned, you see it today with the crash dieting and our unlimited food environment, and when people, why do people? So then a lot of people notice over time the yo-yo dieting, right? And how come each time you almost feel like
it gets harder and
harder
to lose the weight?
And it's because you're losing muscle, And for us, it's cool because this is really when we sit down with new clients, what we explain. And I've actually never really seen or dove into this study before.
Me
so
neither.
Now to see it, I'm like, man, this is exactly what we tell people
to
watch
this lines up with how we do business normally, and I really like it.
And then you're sitting there maybe feeling helpless, like,
yeah, like, why does this happen to me? Why am I broken? Whatever.
And then what's the one of the main things you can do to guard against this? And it's simple, and it's resistance training.
And get enough protein in. Both of those two things, man.
Protein. So, because then now strength training is going to send the signal to your body, hey, I need muscle, I need this lean body mass.
Yep.
And what is known is even when if you are in a calorie deficit, you are dieting, you are losing weight, when you resistance train, you maintain significantly more lean body mass. And you can even build it depending on other factors.
Yeah.
And not lose it at all, and completely maintain most of it. So that's like the key. That's the and we like always stand on the mountaintop and sing it, but literally the key to long-lasting weight loss. So you read this adaptation where, let's look at the major negatives. Well, they cut their calories in half, lost way too much weight, way too fast, and had all these negative side effects. So boom, right there, don't try to lose weight too fast. Don't take too drastic of calorie cuts, right? Small increments.
Because what's going to happen, you're going to rebound, and your body's not going to rebound exactly the same way.
You're going to lose muscle, significant muscle, and then the minute you get off whatever and you go back to...
that fat comes back so much quicker.
Yep, go back to your normal calorie amount, you're just going to overeat, you're going to gain more fat, you're going to have less muscle. Eventually, if you do get your muscle back, you're going to have overate for longer and have more body fat.
And then that sets up, other things like your behavioral habits, your mental health, things like that are also affected. And I think that, gets a little bit lost in the shuffle. But like that, all of those things, like it all works against you.
Yeah.
When you do something like that too drastically. And you're just kind of, instead of moving forward, I think you're kind of moving backwards when you try to do things too drastically, because then you're digging yourself, a hole that you have to now climb out of, instead of just starting, at ground level.
Yeah. So don't lose weight too fast.
No.
Then 2 is you need to do resistance training.
100%.
Look, if you don't want to go to the gym and use weights, remember, we're just trying to recreate an environment. Well, then you need to go push and pull and
go pick up some rocks,
get a farm and carry stuff around.
Yeah, you can do anything.
At the end of the day, like, there needs to be resistance. You need to send that signal to your body to maintain.
Then I need these, these muscles.
Yeah. So even so you may think, I need to lose weight. I need to do more cardio. No.
No.
You need to get in a calorie deficit, a slight calorie deficit, and eat sufficient protein to support muscle and do resistance training to keep it.
Yeah.
Right? So that's the biggest takeaway. So it really
That was it, yeah.
reinforces what we've seen and known.
If you want to do cardio, just walk every day. Just like the guys did. They what, 3 miles a day?
Yeah, 3 miles a day.
Walk 3
You should be
miles
doing
a
that
day.
anyways.
Yeah, everyone. That's your base level.
So one thing is understanding our bodies are programmed to defend against calorie restriction. So yes, it is not easy. It is because our body wants us to not die, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's fighting against it every step of the way.
Make it, again, don't do the drastic stuff. Don't do the extreme stuff. Slight calorie deficit. You're going to preserve more muscle that way, which should be the ultimate goal. And it's just going to be more, you're not going to get all the side effects, those drastic side effects of the major cut that comes with like extreme food deprivation. Number 2, when you lose weight, your metabolic rate will decrease. It's normal.
Yeah.
Like I said, a lot of it has to come with the fact that you're getting smaller. Also, those changes are going to kind of happen. Your body is going to want to conserve. So, your heart rate may slow down, things like that. You may notice you don't have as much energy to work out or to move or to go on walks. That's just the subtleness. That's why we do like having a step number, because it's a way for you to make sure you're maintaining the same
daily movement,
right? Yep. So you don't just kind of fall off a cliff with your movement habits. Mm-hmm. So it's a good way to track that. And yeah, ultimately, your lower body weight is going to have a lower calorie need overall. Yes. So it's not some major thing you need to freak out about or think that, I'm going to have to go eat, overeat, because it's normal. It's going to happen, right? So you just kind of know that it's there and let it be. So then the other takeaway, when you regain lost weight, there's a good chance you're going to gain more weight back, right? And then this kind of, again, comes back to because it means you're going to have less muscle, right? So that means your metabolism is lower. It never recovers. Your appetite's going to still kind of be high, and it's just easier to keep overeating. So, our solution to that would be like that's where the strength training comes in, right? To really make
you never
sure
get in that position.
That you don't get in that position. And honestly, in my experience, like those are the people who have the most success. People who lose weight and resistance train, those are the people we see, 5 years plus or lifetime.
Yep, it's just they keep it off, and they are a new person because of it, instead of the up and down and the pains that come with that.
And from a biological stance, it makes sense that your body, if you're not giving it those signals and it's freaking out, it had that huge drastic calorie deficit and lost weight too fast, it wants to save you, right? So in its mind, I need to be better at storing fat. And fat is easier to store and it's cheaper to store, right?
Yes.
Which means, your body has to use less energy for it. Whereas muscle is very energy demanding. It takes a lot of muscle or a lot of energy, a lot of calories to support it, right? So your body's like, shoot, I don't want to do that. I need to save it. Let me do it the most efficient way possible.
If you know me, you know I'm always on the run, up early and home late. So having a 3-hour morning routine isn't really in the cards for me. What is in the cards is AG1. It's a fast way to get vitamins and minerals I need to perform. I first gave AG1 a try because I wanted a single solution that helps support my entire body by filling in nutrient gaps and simplifying my morning routine. Since drinking AG1 daily, I've always felt strong and energized and ready to attack the day. Not only does AG1 deliver my daily dose of vitamins, minerals, pre- and probiotics, and more, it's a powerful, healthy habit that's also powerfully simple. It's 1 scoop mixed in water once a day and every day. I know that AG1 is giving my body high-quality nutrition. Every batch of AG1 goes through a rigorous testing process, so you know that it's safe. And AG1 ingredients are sourced for absorption, potency, and nutrition density. AG1 is a supplement that I trust to provide the support my body needs daily, and that's why I'm excited to welcome them as a new partner. Here is your chance to start every day this season with a gift to yourself. Try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3K2 and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase exclusively at drinkag1.com/provengrit. That's drinkag1.com/provengrit. Check it out. If you know me, you know I'm always on the run, up early and home late, so having a 3-hour morning routine isn't really in the cards for me. What is in the cards is AG1. It's a fast way to get vitamins and minerals I need to perform. I first gave AG1 a try because I wanted a single solution that helps support my entire body by filling in nutrient gaps and simplifying my morning routine. Since drinking AG1 daily, I've always felt strong and energized and ready to attack the day. Not only does AG1 deliver my daily dose of vitamins, minerals, pre- and probiotics, and more, it's a powerful, healthy habit that's also powerfully simple. It's 1 scoop mixed in water once a day and every day. I know that AG1 is giving my body high-quality nutrition. Every batch of AG1 goes through a rigorous testing process, so you know that it's safe. And AG1 ingredients are sourced for absorption, potency, and nutrition density. AG1 is a supplement that I trust to provide the support my body needs daily, and that's why I'm excited to welcome them as a new partner. Here is your chance to start every day this season with a gift to yourself. Try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3K2 and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase exclusively at drinkag1.com/provengrit. That's drinkag1.com/provengrit. Check it out.
So, muscle's the key, man.
It is.
That muscle. And then kind of outside of all that is the fact that highly restrictive diets affect mental and emotional health drastically, right? Like you saw with the participants in the study, they mentally were just in the dumps, and less energy and mood
and that huge rebound. Like the guys, eating 11,000 calories per day.
Yeah.
Like that's like when you don't have it for that long, like you're just, like we said, you're thinking about food all the time. Yep. And then when you get it, you're eating way more than you even need because, in your brain, you're thinking, I may never get this again or whatever. Yeah. And that just starts a really bad cycle for people as well.
And perfect example with highly restrictive diets is even when it's certain foods, like then you have this urge of, I can't have any of this stuff. And you want it more and you're more likely to go binge on it.
Yep.
That's where something like the keto diet, which, if you enjoy it and it doesn't feel restrictive, you're going to be fine. If not, if the whole time you're just, I want some carbs.
Yeah, like if it's all you can think about is eating
cereal. You're
going
to eventually binge and go off of it, and then you're going to cause very negative feelings towards trying to diet or make the effort to lose body fat, and it's puts you in a bad place, right? Now, one thing I do want to touch on with that is you have to remember in the industry now, we see everyone's different, right? Like with the study, you can't compare lean, young males. You could be listening. You could be a 5'2" female, over 40, who hasn't worked out in a while. Lost muscle over the years and never had you have less of a body frame in general. So your calorie needs are way less, anyways.
Oh yeah.
So. Yeah, ultimately it's kind of not fair. Like you hear, man, these guys basically, starved, lost 30% of their body weight, eating 1,500 calories a day. For some people, 1,500 calories a day might be like what you maintain your body weight at, right?
Yeah,
you might have
a small
to
person.
If you're small, these numbers, they're all relative to your situation. So it might be normal to have to eat 12,000 calories, 1,200 calories.
In order to get yourself in a deficit.
In a deficit. Yeah. So, don't get caught up on the numbers because they're going to be different for everyone. But just understand the main point isn't like where you're at with that number. It's you don't want to take a huge drastic leap.
Yeah, because they cut theirs in half.
Mm-hmm. And that's where a simple solution for everyone wants to know some magic formula.
It's not.
To start. Well, here's really the best answer. Don't change. Well, for one, look at if you've been gaining weight consistently, you're eating too much, right? If you you're at a weight, but you've been stuck, but you've maintained your weight, well, start tracking your calories. Don't change anything you eat.
Just see where you're at. Check in.
See where you're at for like 2-3 weeks. And if your weight stays the same and you're accurate with your tracking, you'll know this is my maintenance amount. And yeah, you don't want to go cut that in half.
No.
So you would just typically at the most like 500 calories, but even, depending on where you're at. But yeah, just take a little amount. And then, see if you lose weight.
Yeah, and then check again in a few weeks and see what happens.
If it gets you in a deficit, you'll start losing, right? You want to make small incremental changes to avoid the drastic negative effects of the huge calorie cut.
I think a goal for most people is like, what's the smallest change I can make and still get results?
Yeah.
Because that prevents the big rebound from happening. If I can just make this tiny change, heck, if you even just drop 300 calories and you can lose with that.
Yeah, and then you ride that out till you get stuck.
And you're gonna be way less cranky, hungry. You'll probably have a little more energy than if you made a drastic cut, and that's way easier to live with than that giant, cutting it in half feeling.
Now here's the catch: it's just slower. It takes longer, right? No one wants to.
It's not as exciting.
The other thing is people, and this is where you can get in trouble. This is where we're not as huge of a fan as. Yes, if you just kind of don't count calories, but you just say, I'm gonna stop eating a bunch of stuff. You may cut your calories way too much, but you don't know because you're just cutting everything out and trying to like, go full cold turkey on food basically, and that's just never ends well. It is better to slowly lose weight, 1 to 2 pounds a week, ideally on average at the most. Otherwise, you're gonna have these adverse effects. So
and what we've seen, it's funny, man. For most people, even people that lose weight really quickly, like over a year, it still evens out to about a pound a week, no matter how fast you lose it. And then, one person may literally lose 1 pound per week. They're usually going to be better off mentally and emotionally than the person
rebound.
The person who lost a ton and then maybe stayed the same or, had that up and down for the rest of the year. They're going to be in not as good of a place as the person who just, slow rode it out for that year and was cool with a pound a week.
Yeah. And this is why ultimately, so the standard, let me do a ton of cardio, let me do a drastic calorie, hardcore diet, always ends up in yo-yo rebound.
Yes.
Right? Because the key to all of this is muscle.
Maintaining or building muscle.
Yes. It plays the most important role, right? Because again, it kind of establishes it is our metabolism in a way, our big piece of it.
That's what creates the biggest demand for energy, and the less you have, the less demand there is, and the less food you can eat, really.
Yep. So the biggest takeaway is you want to do everything you can to preserve muscle. And I think that's where a lot of people get hung up when they think of weightlifting, resistance training. Everyone just thinks of Arnold Schwarzenegger, bodybuilders, and they think of the extreme, as big muscle as possible.
Yeah,
that's not
the goal. I don't want to be
that's
that.
a separate goal.
Well, it's kind
of
insulting.
Building the biggest muscles as possible is a whole. That's not going to accidentally happen.
No, God, no. I swear.
Most people, their goal should be to maintain their lean mass, their muscle mass, right? So through resistance training, getting enough protein, like those are the two simplest strategies and most powerful. Like that's more important than calorie cardio burn. That's more important than if eating kale. If your goal is to lose body fat and not regain the weight.
Yeah, do it in the best way possible.
Strength train, protein intake. Those are
that's it.
Step 1 and step 2,
Period.
And then get in your calorie deficit.
And they're
small.
2 of the hardest things for people to do consistently.
Small deficit instead of extreme.
Yeah.
So those 3 things.
Just a touch.
Slight calorie
Just
deficit.
A tip.
Protein, resistance training. That's it. Like, I know people don't want to hear it. Like, you want there to be some extreme, faster approach. And look, if you just want to lose weight, it's not the best way.
No.
But again, if you want to lose body fat and not regain it, this is it.
Yeah.
And I mean, the science and latest research shows it, but you can even go back in 1940 like we did.
And it literally found the exact same thing that they're finding these days.
And all the same principles are there.
Yep.
So you just you don't want to get stuck with the speed at which you lose weight. You don't want to get stuck with feeling like you need to make yourself super exhausted, that you need to run yourself into the ground.
Because that doesn't work either. Sorry to tell you.
And really all those things are just speeding up the process of what you're trying to avoid.
You're just going to lose muscle and end up in that.
Making yourself burn more calories. You're creating a bigger deficit. And I know that is hard for people to wrap their brain around. But yes, you want to create the slight deficit through your calories. So the problem if you go do a ton of cardio is you're creating a bigger deficit, which is going to have a lot of negative reactions. And then most people actually never even lose weight doing that, because then the huge calorie burn from the super exhausting workout drives your appetite way up. And then you go, oh, well, I burned all these calories.
I can eat this.
And then you go eat 1,000 calories of pancakes every workout, and ultimately you never even lose weight because you're trying to out-train your diet, right?
And that never, ever works.
But then mentally you're exhausted because you feel like you've been dieting.
Yeah, you're like, I've been doing everything. You've been killing yourself in the gym. You're physically exhausted. You're mentally exhausted. And it's a rough place to end up where, like, you could expend way less energy and feel way better and get better results. And I don't understand why more people don't want that. Like, why wouldn't you want to feel better?
Yeah.
Honestly, maybe
because it takes longer.
Maybe I'm just lazy, but I want to do the least amount of stuff possible to be where I want to be.
Yeah.
That's it. Like, if you tell me, like, if you to hit your ideal body composition, you could train 1 time a week and maintain that. Now, I like the ritual of training, of course, but, like, that's whatever it takes. I'm cool. And to feel good and be able to do everything I want to do, like, I don't want to go 6 days a week. It's not enjoyable.
And for most people, it's not sustainable, right?
Yeah.
So it's like maybe 1 day is, maybe 3 days is. But typically, it's less is more sustainable than more. So it's
always
a little better to start with less.
Yep.
So, yeah, if so stepping back, like, for one, there's no such thing as starvation mode. Like, if you're not losing weight, you're not starving.
Yeah.
Right? Now, your body could down-regulate your metabolism from overtraining and things like that, but the calories are getting in there somewhere.
Yeah.
So you want to kind of look deeper at that. Like, and the common ones, what we just described, is normally over cardio.
Your appetite gets
driven up, and there's sneaky calories, right? And then what's worse, if you do drastically lose weight, and you are someone who's experienced a lot of those yo-yo cycles of, like, you lose 20 pounds, you gain 25. You lose 20 pounds, you gain 30. You lose 20 pounds, you gain 35.
Yeah,
and then 15 years later, you're actually 15, 20 pounds heavier from where you even were.
With even less muscle than you started with.
And each time you're losing muscle. So that's where, like, muscle's the key. You want to maintain your muscle. You want to diet less extreme, 1 to 2 pounds a week.
Yeah.
But again, step back and realize if you did that for a year, 1 pound a week, that's 50 pounds. For most people, that's your goal. You're going to be where you want to be.
You'd be in a great place. It's just being okay with it taking a year.
1 year feels like a long time, but in the grand scheme, it's not.
No.
So, and then you could be in a place where, you lost 50 pounds, you maintained your lean muscle, you exercise 2, 3, 4 days a week, and it's sustainable, and you enjoy it. You're there. Then all of a sudden, it's a lifestyle, it's habit, and then that's how you keep it off.
Yeah. I think a big thing is, like, don't be afraid of, like, the word muscle, because I think it has a negative connotation for a lot of people. They don't want to be big and bulky, and know that it takes a lot of work and focus and time to get to that, like, we'll call it that extreme place. Yeah. Like, if you look at most guys that have been bodybuilding or men or women, they've been doing it for 15, 20 years or so, and it takes a lot of 20 years of consistency to really get there, and you're not going to accidentally do it, And honestly, I think all of us would like the way we looked if we gained probably 3 to 5 pounds of muscle over a few years.
Yeah. And most of the extreme cases that people freak out, when they see a lot of the woman bodybuilders, I don't want to look like a man. It's most of those are, like, there's drugs involved.
Yeah, like, that's just not going to be you
unless you're actually, don't fall into a testosterone needle and you'll be fine.
Yeah, if you fall into one of those, then you might end up there. But
don't fall into a testosterone needle weekly while lifting weights 6 days a week.
And eating enough food to sustain that, like, it's just,
and you'll be fine.
It's not realistic. So for anyone that is a little, apprehensive about us saying, like, maintaining or building muscle, you're not going to be the Hulk. You're going to probably look how you want to look.
Yeah.
So.
And then a lot of people think every time they go lift weights, they're like, oh, it makes me bulky, I can't lose. It's not the weight training, it's you're still overeating.
Yeah, like, right? You just still have fat to lose.
If you still eat too many calories, and you're lifting weights or you're not lifting weights, you're just going to gain weight.
Yeah,
right?
no matter what.
So now you'll gain a little more muscle.
Still fat though.
But also fat.
Yeah.
So it's still the nutrition that needs to be addressed.
Yep.
But with getting in a slight calorie deficit, sufficient protein intake, resistance training, that is the key to losing body fat and not gaining it back.
Yeah, don't rebound. Don't rebound like the guys in Minnesota.
Yeah. And if you end up wanting, like, you want to see the pictures, and they have some cool graphs and charts that show kind of like, when they were eating back like the 10,000 calories
the
a day
refeeds and stuff,
and kind of like how their muscle, like a little graphs with like their body fat and muscle and
the fat shoots way up, and then you can see the muscle just slowly creeps up over time. It's kind of interesting.
And essentially their eating was just, they were driven to overeat until they got back their muscle.
That's the point.
Their
sells
appetite
it for
kind of settled in a little bit.
The muscle normalizes things. Yep. And I think it's a great.
So yeah,
great regulator in my opinion.
On that macro scale. So that's something they've seen with a lot of new research from more of a micro scale daily of like our appetite is possibly protein driven, right? But this is on a bigger scale of like like our body weight set point, not just our appetite. Our body weight set point could be, hey, like I'm trying to have this amount of lean body mass that your body probably wants, right?
And you eat until you get there, basically.
And if you don't get there, because you eat a bunch of carbs and fat,
just going to keep gaining fat,
you're going to be like perpetually hungry.
And makes a lot of sense, I think.
But yes, so it's called the Minnesota Starvation Experiment.
Yeah, if anybody wants to look deeper. It's cool stuff. I mean, it's neat to see that 80 years ago almost, like, they were already looking into this stuff and, had already figured out a lot of what we're still trying to convey to people, in 2021. It's kind of crazy to think about.
Yep. And all this stuff's normally driven by, it's funny, I notice everything's either driven by like war or sports, like the main
100%
reason for the study was, there's like a lot of starved people after the war. Like what's that
How
mean?
are we going to handle this?
What does that mean? Yeah. So let's do a controlled study to see. And it's just kind of interesting and fascinating. And
yeah.
I know I wouldn't be signing up for that.
Nah, I wouldn't do it.
Nah. All those precious gains.
Nah, I can't. And like the high carb, low protein diet's not for me either.
That would be brutal, man. Just like we were watching something the other day. Oh, my 600-pound life.
Oh yeah.
And so
I haven't gotten into that yet.
And it blew my mind. Like they were making pasta.
But there was no meat with it, was there?
There was no meat. They were just eating pasta.
Yeah.
And I was like,
you gotta add some protein.
That's an incomplete meal. Like
that's the problem I have.
Starving, dude. I would be a bottomless pit.
That's the problem I have with soup, and Whitney makes fun of me for a lot for this because like I always tell her I'm not a soup kind of guy. The reason I'm not a soup kind of guy is I'm wasting a lot of time eating this thing that usually doesn't have any protein in it or enough.
Now, what if the soup's just like a first course to what
which is fine,
yeah.
But as like a whole meal, like I just can't do it. Some people will just have soup.
Soup for a meal?
Yeah.
Are you sick? Are you just
exactly like now if I had like
have you ever had Italian wedding soup? It has little turkey meatballs in it.
I haven't, but we were watching MasterChef last night. That's our new thing. We've already watched like 2 full seasons of it. And some dude made wedding soup. I'd never seen it before, but it literally was a meatball in broth. But he put butter in it, and you're not supposed to put butter in it. And they caught it, and they were like, "Nah, you're not."
You trying to church it up?
Yeah.
Hey, you can put butter in soup, man.
Because then you get a layer on top of just
was he French?
Was just French? Grease. He was Greek.
Oh.
Yeah. It was great. I think it was technically Greek wedding soup, which maybe is a little different. I mean, I'm not Greek or Italian, so I can't make the call either way. But you don't want that oil slick on top of soup. Is what I learned.
Nah.
His plating was terrible too.
Soup's not a meal, man.
It's not.
Or just pasta by itself.
Just plain pasta.
Like,
because dude, I could eat a lot of pasta if it was just by itself. But we do turkey meatballs now with some pasta. I'm good. That's actually one of the more filling meals we eat because it's just literally like a ton of lean turkey with the pasta.
Yeah, that's what we normally do is make meatballs.
It's easy.
But
just pasta. Just any. Imagine if you just only ate rice.
Like,
how much rice could you eat?
You feel like that's a 12-year-old. Like when you're 12 years old, you'd eat like some macaroni and cheese and that's it.
Yeah, no.
But you're 12 years old, right? Like.
Yeah, I remember when I was younger, I used to eat just pasta with either like butter or oil on it, and that was it. just like a giant bowl of it. And now the thought of doing that, I'm like, where's the meat, man? Or where's the protein if you don't eat meat? Like, you still need protein.
Throw some beans in there or something. What would you do? I don't know, man.
I feel like
I couldn't do it.
I feel like you just insulted me.
Throw some beans.
Throw some beans in your pasta.
What? Oh, yeah. I guess like dairy would be some.
Yeah.
So there's your cheese, but then that's
how much cheese you need to fulfill that.
Then it's just starting to taste.
I feel like all of my meals, and I think all of us are like this, are so protein centric. Is that without it, it's not a meal. Period. Yeah. Like if you gave me a bowl of pasta, like that's not a meal. You just gave me pasta. It's like that's basically a snack, so to speak.
And when you look at all cultures, right? Before we even had MyFitnessPal, so like a couple
years ago,
rice and beans, right?
Yeah.
No one just ate. Like look at all the places that's a staple
around the world. You
meal.
Can find rice and beans at so many places.
And they weren't tweeting at each other. They figured it out separately.
Yep.
None of them were just eating rice by themselves. Is rice and beans, right? And guess what? So rice is by itself. It has some protein in it, but it's an incomplete source. It doesn't have all the amino acids. Beans, they're a protein by themselves. They have some protein in them, but an incomplete source. Well, guess what? The ones that the beans are missing, the amino acids the beans are missing, the rice has. The amino acids the rice is missing, the beans have.
Combine and somehow someone figured it out.
Combine them, you got
before the internet.
Your complete protein.
Yeah, and that happens everywhere, which is so crazy to me that they knew.
And that's what people don't understand about a vegan diet. Like you can make it work.
Absolutely.
But it actually takes more effort. It's harder.
It is harder.
You have to be more educated on what you're doing, and this is why. And they had another one. Maybe we'll do this one week on different types of diets and which ones are easier or harder. Mm-hmm. And the hardest diet is a whole food vegan diet.
Yes.
Because you have to do some food
getting
combining.
Enough protein is just
not just protein, other nutrients.
More
too.
work. Well, yeah. I mean, we like things like B12 and a couple other ones are.
Whereas
they're harder to get.
Even if you have a processed omnivore diet, animal food's going to have a lot of those nutrients and amino acids, like all in the same bite.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, we'll say it's a more complete food than those maybe individual components you would have in a vegan diet, which is why the combinations are so crucial. That'd be a fun one. Yeah, we can dive into that, because we'll never knock. We might make fun of keto a lot or whatever, but whatever, anybody wants to do or find success with is great.
Yeah, whatever method, as long as you have the principles of sufficient calories, sufficient protein, calories based on your goal.
Exactly.
Then everything else is just a method.
Yep, and just personal preference.
Comes down to what's most sustainable for you. Now, whether that's a ketogenic, no carb type diet, or a vegan diet, which is typically going to be high in carbs, and low in fat, or a, omnivore diet that's equal across the board, in carbs and fats. It's really finding whatever you can sustain.
What works. And all we want to do is help people to best navigate, what they choose to do.
Mm-hmm.
If you choose to be vegan, then how do we do that?
The biggest mistake we see is when people do a diet thinking that the diet's the holy grail.
Yes.
And then they're not accounting for portions. Everyone I know someone who's been super successful with a carnivore diet. They also track their calories, right?
Weird.
Boom. Now principles are in place. I know people who have done a vegan diet.
Track their
super
calories.
Successful. The ones that did the best track their calories. I also know people who have tried a carnivore diet, tried a vegan diet, willy-nilly. They gained weight, right? Because at the end of the day, you can't just...
You're supposed to account for what you're eating, and you can't eat it unlimited.
Yep.
That's that. Most of us can't. Ben can.
Yep.
But most of us can't.
So it's funny, but even talking with Ben, and maybe we'll have him on here, he's worked the thing. So as he eats intuitively, though, what he noticed, and I told him as I've been tracking lately as we do the challenge with the gym, well, when he kind of goes in mode of, maybe I'm going to ease up or gain a little, he has huge swings. Like he'll kind of gain a lot pretty fast. Mm-hmm. And then when he's like leaning out, he loses a lot kind of fast. So there's like larger swings, whereas, when you track, you can be a lot more meticulous and
you're a little more in control.
Control it more and know what's going on.
Changes.
So, which then, if you roll in performance as a big part of your goals, so that's going to matter a lot.
Yeah.
Right. And then now, as we see too, if also you're someone who has struggled with your weight, it's going to matter too, because if you kind of lose faster, you're more likely, as we've seen, to gain it back and more. So you actually want to be cautious of losing it too fast.
Yeah.
So. And that's the problem with the fad diets. And that's, so is on a standard American diet, which is low protein and tons of processed food, and they go on a keto diet, which cuts out carbs, which for most people's a lot if they eat.
Yeah, it cuts out a lot of processed foods that are just
foods,
dense
they're going to
foods.
take a huge calorie cut, and maybe like too drastic, like we just talked about. So you want to guard against that.
Yeah, it's hard because people get pumped up to like think they have to lose weight fast.
Moving, yeah,
like you see it everywhere, magazines, Instagram, whatever, lose weight quick, and it's just people think that that's what you have to do. Like that's normal. Normal's losing weight as quick as possible, and it's just not the case at all. You didn't gain it in 3 weeks, and you're not going to lose it in 3 weeks. So,
like my chicken nugget post.
Chicken nugget post, baby. That's got you on top, man.
On my blog, I have my most popular post that gets the most hits is I titled it "How I Got Ripped Eating Chicken Nuggets." Right, and it's now people who somehow, and we joke because I get so many hits for this, and it's really about the point of the post. I talk about my journey when I first started getting into this, and I read, oh, you should eat more protein. And I was a picky eater, so I read chicken was good. So I started eating chicken, but I would get like the Tyson breaded little like chicken nuggets and chicken patties, and that was
chicken patties, man, take me back to school.
And eventually I realized, those are breaded and have cooked in oil. So hey, eventually I got to get to maybe like a chicken breast, right, or a chicken thigh where they don't have those things, but I still made progress while making those small changes, right? So while eventually being 8% body fat and ripped, eating chicken nuggets is going to be hard. The whole point though is it can still be part of your journey, right?
It's part of your process, yeah.
So, and obviously now, like knowing what I know, if you did really want to have chicken nuggets every day,
we could figure it out.
You would basically just have chicken nuggets and that'd be, make the rest of your calories
a little bit leaner,
and you're good. So I still wouldn't recommend that.
Nah.
But then you're just like, that means you're stopping to a drive-through every day, which means you're tempted to get fries.
Yeah, that just opens up a whole nother box that you shouldn't.
So, and it's a lot easy. Like you could give me chicken breast or whatever, and I'm eventually gonna get full. If you slap like a 36-piecer down,
dude, I could keep eating chicken nuggets, hands down,
with some sauce.
Could absolutely just devour them.
We got sushi last night.
I saw it. Looked so good, dude.
I haven't had.
Did you eat all of it?
Yeah.
I haven't had sushi honestly since probably the last time everyone got together and got sushi, which has probably been over 2 years since I've had it.
Yeah, I got it down now. Like I'm pretty happy with like 24 pieces.
Yeah. Did you get the
just the
sashimi?
No, because sashimi's just
that's
the
just
fish.
The fish. You get it on the rice. I forget what
it's
that's
like
called.
Nigiri or something.
Yeah.
And so I get that.
Dude, I love it like that.
And then I could eat up to 50 if I want to stuff myself and not eat the rest of the day.
But is that?
But in a normal, I don't do that much anymore.
Yeah.
So now I'm good. Like, get my 24 pieces.
I got to get some sushi.
I like to get a little mixture of the tuna pieces, salmon pieces, and the shrimp. Even though the shrimp's cooked, it's
still
And shrimp's, I'm not gonna make it at home, so
I never make shrimp either.
Yeah. All right, guys, girls, take that. Minnesota study. What did we say it was?
Minnesota Starvation.
The Minnesota Starvation Experiment.
Take it.
Hopefully you learned something. Again, protein, muscle. Learn to love it.
That's it.
See ya.
Later. As always, thanks for listening, guys. If you want to learn more, check us out at coastalfitnessva.com or garydeagle.com. We'll see you next time.